Emma Corrigan here, Lead Educational Psychologist at Psychology Associates. Our education team works very closely with staff, students and families at saltash.net. We've been putting together a range of videos, and this particular one is aimed at how parents and carers can support their child in their Year 6 to Year 7 transition. So we'll be exploring the key issues and needs, particularly in light of the current climate, and how, as parents working with saltash.net and your child, you can really help pave the way for a supportive, effective and successful transition. So we're going to focus on three main areas. These are relationships, engagement and mental health and well-being. Now, these are important for every single child, young person, adult, but it's really key that we do take an individual approach wherever we can. So that's where we tune into the specific needs and strengths of your individual child. Where there's additional special educational needs, vulnerabilities, we need to think carefully and plan and support and make sure your child, your young person, is really involved and at the centre of any planning. These areas are in no way separate. They're very connected and interrelated. Supporting positive relationships and engagement will be crucial for mental health and well-being. There's also a lot of other things going on and other things to consider when we think about our emotions and our well-being. So for your children, they are going to be experiencing some of the typical challenges associated with adolescence and the teenage brain, where we know there's rapid development, the hormonal changes, we've got peer influence taking a strong role in their lives, and also we've got what we all know is a really challenging and unprecedented time for all of us. None of us have experienced a lockdown before. It's been very unpredictable, it's been uncertain, and that brings extra stress and worry for children, young people, and for you as their parents and carers. So we'll have a think about how we can support, contain, validate and work with some of these issues. It's important to identify with your child and the staff at saltash.net who are the key adults that they're going to be working with. Where are they based in school? What do they look like? What are their interests? So we can build that relationship and try and create personal links, personal connections right from the earliest stages. And checking out with your child, what would you like to know about them? And what would you like to share about yourself? As parents, I think we all have a sense that peer relationships are incredibly important. We've kind of got our own experiences. We can look back and we can remember some of the best and some of the most difficult times that probably involved the friendships that we had and the peer difficulties we may have encountered. So it's incredibly important, and it's also something that during adolescence takes quite a significant role in terms of our belonging, but also our self-worth, and the influence that our peers have on us as we go through adolescence is likely to increase as well. So it's really considering for your child what's going to be helpful. Would it be that they would benefit from some virtual introductions, from some getting to know people from a distance first? How can we make sure they're matched up with those with similar interests? But how can we ensure that we really are listening to the child and what's important to them? So it's not the adult's hopes for lots of friends, because sometimes actually just having one or two can be more than enough. So how can we really ensure we listen and act on the views of your child in terms of forging those positive relationships? The relationship we have with our children, it changes, it adjusts as they grow and develop. And many of us might have found that during the last few months with lockdown, it's really had to adjust, and there's been sort of changes to the family dynamics and relationships. Many people watching this may have had to kind of spend time together that they wouldn't normally typically have chosen. Many might have enjoyed that, some more than others. And we kind of need to think how it's going to feel when we start to return more and more to school, to work. So the separation and sense of loss that actually could be really quite strong for some children and their parents. So it's important to explore it, to name it, to find ways that will help your child know that they're still in your heart, your mind, even when you're not physically present. And sometimes that can be about talking it through. It can also be about finding other ways to stay connected. So setting up clear routines before and after school. It could be about arranging structured check-ins with other key adults. Depending on your child's needs and developments, there'll be things you can do, things that you can add to their lunch bags, notes. It could be them making postcards at school to bring home, something about the day they've enjoyed, something they want to share. And we can explore with school other ways in which they can express any worries, any concerns, and so that the adults around them in school can contain and support, and that your child experience a very strong link and a strong working relationship between you and staff, between home and school. Supportive action is really important. What we don't want to do is avoid or minimise things, even when they can feel really challenging, because what we know is that avoidance will just increase anxiety. So we need to find ways that we can positively, sensitively support and gently challenge, but making sure there's that solid team working around your child. And we cannot forget building in fun and enjoyment. What do they really enjoy? What have been the best bits about their time in year 6? How can we bridge some of that into year 7? But how can we look at ways in which it can be different, and in many ways it could be even better? So what are they looking forward to? What are they motivated to achieve and to enjoy and to experience? Because we know that when we are enjoying ourselves, when we're having fun, this is really protective, because we cannot be in a high state of anxiety or fear or threat. So ensuring that there's some engaging, supportive, positive, enjoyable activities all the way through. So I've mentioned already the importance of involving your child, their involvement, their participation being really meaningful, because that's likely to have a significant impact on their motivation, on their ownership of any plans that are in place, and on their well-being. But it doesn't mean firing lots of questions at them and expecting them to come up with all the answers and the plans themselves. They need that supportive team of adults to put boundaries and to be in charge. And they may not like lots of questions, or they may not like feeling that there's a spotlight on them. So it's important that we know it's not a one-fits-all approach, and that person-centred planning approaches, many of which are freely available online, so lots of information can be accessed about person-centred planning, but this is very much in tune and aligned with saltash.net's values and ethos. This is about making sure the individual child has what will be most meaningful for them in terms of participation, where people really listen, really accept, really include their views and actively take them forward. So it's really about ensuring a young person's strengths and achievements and what's important to them is recognised, what's worked well and not so well, and what needs to be in place, but ensuring they're central to it, and that's in a way in which they feel safe, secure and able to participate. So the last 2 slides are going to focus in more on mental health and well-being. We know, as I've already mentioned, there's been a lot of uncertainty that is likely to continue, so providing any structure, routine and familiarity is likely to be helpful. But many of us will have experienced quite a profound sense of loss. That might be through personal bereavement, but loss in other ways for your children as well. Loss of regular contact with people, loss of what they know as their kind of safe school environment, loss of opportunities for seeing wider family, friends, hobbies, and then thinking about transition, there is already a sense of change and loss that applies. So as parents, to really help your child explore these feelings that could be quite distressing and overwhelming, but to be able to contain that. So that's where they can name it, or you can try and guess and wonder and name it for them. You may help them by drawing it, writing about it, through stories, through play. Any way you can model a curiosity and a making sense of feelings. So it's all about trying to get them out and to express them. Sometimes using some quite kind of concrete number scaling or visual scaling. So how you feel when you're a 0, how you feel when you're a 5, and what the difference in that might be. So for some children that can be really difficult to do, and it's about just finding out as best you can where they're at and getting alongside it and being able to just help them gently express and connect with the intensity of a feeling and to try and make sense of it. It's also about really accepting that whatever they are feeling is okay. So essentially it's okay not to feel okay. It's okay to feel worried, scared, angry, sad. These are typical feelings. We all go through them at different times. But for some children it could mean they're operating in quite a heightened state of emotional arousal, a heightened state of anxiety, fear or stress, and they will need you to help them calm first before anything else. So identifying calming, soothing, practical ways to support, and then opportunities to bridge strategies into school. Coming back to what I said earlier about the fun and playfulness being protective to our threat response system, but also important for me to mention sleep, because early on I talked a little bit about changing brain as they approach or in adolescence, and the importance of sleep for mood, but for executive functioning, which underpins our learning. That's just so important. But I think experiencing safety and calm before really we can do anything else, certainly before we can effectively learn, means that some of the most important strategies are all about soothing and calming. So to finish, the final slide, I had to mention something really that is fundamental to your own child's well-being, learning, their transition, but also their ongoing schooling and development. It's how you are as parents, it's looking after yourselves, it's building your own emotional reserves, because in order for you to be able to help your children, you need to be okay yourself. And of course, we all go through difficult times, and it's been a very stressful time for many of us. So I think being able to just make sure that you are noticing how you're feeling, that you are thinking about yourself, finding any opportunities to take care of yourself and your well-being, or to build more of a support network, or to ask for help. And it's really important that you can flag up where additional help and support would be useful. So we've got information obviously on saltash.net school website in terms of staff contact details, other resources, other links, and there's also some information that's available with a link there on the Psychology Associates website as well. Thank you.